Michael Bettine here once again for an episode of It's Cuppa Time. I hope you've been enjoying the one series that has been running about the past 7 weeks or so. That came partly out of an idea I had and then also out of necessity. It's been a very busy 2023. I've had events in my life happen that took a lot of time away from doing all of this, so I knew I wouldn't be able to make a lot of videos. I came upon the one idea. I was just going to make like 1 or 2 videos, the first 2, and then I liked it. So quickly in one afternoon, I put together about 6 more. So the idea was just to put up one gong and explore it. And there was no thought beforehand. I did no practicing or anything like that. It was all first takes. So for me, this is the kind of thing I do down here in my studio, is I'll just play. I don't just sit around and think, well, what if I take this mallet and that mallet, and what if I do this or try this? I'll just throw up different gongs and play and see what can happen. I like to do that. I really like the exploratory part of that, because I never know what I will find. And I really think in the one series that I found some interesting sounds, some interesting rhythms and combinations. I hope you found that all interesting too. I've got about 6 or 7 more of those filmed that I'll be releasing at a later date. Got a few topics I want to talk about today. I even made a list. So first, I want to talk about something that came up on Facebook, where a lot of things come up that I jot notes about, different conversations, different ideas that people put out there and such. And this was about claims of balancing the chakras, and sound therapists, sound healers, sound workers, however you want to define yourself, making claims about, oh, I'm balancing your chakras and I'm taking things and, whatever. I really shy away from making any claims about anything other than, well, I make sounds. I take a mallet and I make a sound, That's about the only claim I can make. I think a big problem we have today is a lot of people making fantastic claims, or claims that they either can't back up or don't understand. That'd be like somebody claiming medical stuff like healings and all this sort of things. And I'm not saying that healings do not happen, because I've experienced spontaneous healings at my sessions and other people's sessions and all that. But I think to claim that you can specifically do things is kind of shaky. I don't know. So claims about balancing the chakras. Like I said, I don't make any claims. What I tell people at the beginning of the session, and I think it's really important, at least for me, is I tell them this session is not about me. This is about you. Because it's true. I'm not looking to be like, oh, everybody look up at me and watch me play, and it's not a rock concert. I'm not up on stage with all the lights and the smoke and laser beams and the big sound system, and everybody's looking at me, and it's all about me. Rather, to me, it's all about the people attending. As I tell them, I just provide the soundtrack to whatever journey they will go on. I make all these great sounds with these fantastic instruments, but it's not about me. And one thing I try to do is I try to remain transparent. And by that I mean unseen, transparent as in clear, that is unseen. I try to take myself out of things as much as possible so that there's the sound and there's the people. And I'm way in the background. I think that's important. If you're doing this type of work, it's not about you. It's about the people and their response, their intentions, their reactions to what's going on with the sounds. So that's a big thing I try to do, is just take myself out of it. And it's a continual process. I try to be more transparent every time I play. I've even talked about playing behind a screen. Sort of like a theatrical scrim, just playing behind a screen so nobody could see me. You would just see this blank screen and maybe, I don't know, maybe some projections on it or something, but they would then be totally forced to listen because they couldn't use their eyes to see me or to see the instruments. So that's an idea that I've had. I might try it someday. So far I haven't. But the idea of removing myself completely from the whole equation and just having the sounds emanating from behind this screen and people having to deal with that. It's just like, okay, here are these sounds. We don't know how they're being made. We don't even know who's making them to a certain extent. And just like having to take in those sounds. So that's an idea I might do in the future. We'll see. Another thing I want to talk about too is when I'm playing, I'm searching for something really unexplainable. At least I don't know how to explain it, but I'm always searching for something. There's this sort of ephemeral thing out there. I can feel it. I'm not sure what it is, but I'm looking for it. So I'm always trying to reach further into this essence, this ether, and trying to get to this sort of ephemeral thing that is floating out there. It's very difficult to describe because it's more an experience that I'm having, but I'm always playing these sounds and reaching, trying to find something out there, trying to find a specific thing that I feel is drawing my work towards it. So I just keep going. Whether I reach it or not is probably immaterial, because I feel that often the journey itself is as important as the destination. And I think it's important when we're playing and you're making sounds and you're paying attention. I'm always looking for signposts. People ask me, well, how do you do what you do? Is it all pre-planned or are you improvising? And I tell them, well, it's a little of both. I have these ideas. I might play them. I might not play them. I have these instruments around me. I might play all of them. Some of them I might not play. It all depends on what I'm led to do. So I'm looking for, listening for, and just feeling for these signposts as I'm moving forward in this sound journey. And that's really how I decide where to go. I'll be playing, and a sound will be vibrating and maybe fading off, and it's like, what do I do next? And it's just, the sign comes up, some sort of sign. Sometimes it's just looking at an instrument, and I'll see an instrument and I'll go, oh, I should play this bell. I should play this bowl, this gong or something. So sometimes it's a visual cue. Sometimes it's auditory, or I'm hearing a sound in my head. I'm hearing this hum of a bell. What bell can make that sound? And sometimes it's just picking up some sort of vibration, possibly from the people out front. And I'm picking up something from them, or I'm picking up something from the room, or even just a vibration. And I don't mean like a frequency vibration, but just a vibration, a feeling from the instruments or whatever. And it's just following this feeling, this vibration. So that's kind of how I work. And, it's different every time. I don't know what I'm going to do. Like last weekend, I did a Sunday and a Monday session. And they were both very different. So, successive days, very different. I started out completely different. Just the whole path was different. And here's one important thing I found is both as a musician, playing in bands, and in doing this sound work, is you cannot go back, you cannot recreate something that you did before. And it's a very, very tempting thing, because if you're playing one night and it's like, this is magical, everything is going, this thing I did on these bells is just, wow, this is great, or on these gongs is great, and you have it in mind, tomorrow I'm going to do the exact same thing and get that exact same groove, and the people will respond the same. No, it probably won't work that way, because it's a completely different situation, different people, a different vibe, if you will, of where you are. Even if you are in the same place, if you're playing 2 nights in a row in the same place, it's a different time. Things have changed. You have changed. So it's not possible to recreate the exact same thing. You can play the same notes, the same instruments, and get something similar. But I think a lot of people, and I know I did as a young musician, you can get hung up on this idea of, that was amazing, I want to do it again just the same way and create that same atmosphere. And it just doesn't happen that way. So that's why when I play, every session is different. There are certain things I do, but so much of it is just following the muse, as they say, following the sounds and seeing where it leads to. And like I said, I did these back-to-back sessions, and they were so very different. They started out differently, the middles were different, and the ends were different. I did some of the same things in between all that, like certain bell and tuned gong melodies. I did certain drones, things like that. But it was just very different. So I didn't try to make one sound like the other, even though it's like the first one was great. It was amazing. We had such a great vibe. So the second time is like, I didn't try to recreate that same vibe. I let it have its own vibe and let it be its own session and took it from there. And it in itself was an amazing session. Totally different, equally amazing in its own ways. So I think that's the thing you get with maturity as a musician. And we are musicians if we play these instruments because they are musical instruments. So consider yourself a musician. But I think that's something that you learn with maturity, is to look at each session, each concert, each whatever as its own. Even in playing in a band, and even if you're in a big time band and you're playing in arenas, each night is different. We'll have a different feel, the audience will react differently. Sometimes things go very smoothly, sometimes they don't go as smoothly. I mean, it's just, that's the way it is. And you have to take each time as its own unique time. And another thing on my mind has been how we define ourselves. I know some of us call ourselves sound healers. Some of us are sound therapists. Others use a more generic term of sound practitioner, and all kinds of different titles that define us. And I think it's a shame that we even have to define ourselves. But I know for like publicity, for posters, for any sort of literature, for any sort of thing going on, mass media and social media, you have to define yourself and say, I am this, I'm a sound X. But it's kind of a shame, because I'd rather leave it up to the people to define what it is. So I try not to call myself anything in some ways. I do in media because I have to have some sort of a handle, I guess you could say. But I prefer to let people define it for themselves. Same thing with my sessions. What do I call my sessions? I don't call them a gong bath or anything like that. I call it a gong meditation merely because that's something that people can kind of relate to. But again, I prefer people to just define it themselves. What do they get out of it? What do you think it is? What did it mean to you? So I think that's important, and it's something we really need to think about, are these definitions we give ourselves, we give our sessions, and we give all the things we're involved in. Sometimes it can trap us in a corner. I'm a sound healer. Well, I didn't get any healing at your session. What's wrong with that? Kind of traps you in a corner, maybe. So we have to watch out for that. If you have any ideas, questions, or suggestions, put them down below in the comments. I appreciate all the comments that I get, and a lot of times I will talk about things that people put in the comments. So please do that. It means a lot to me. And if you're so inclined, I have a donation button down there. You can kind of donate some funds to the channel here, help me improve things. I'm always trying to improve the sound quality, the lighting quality, and everything else that I do. So I appreciate that from the people who have donated. And also just support your local, whatever you want to define them as, your local sound person out there with gongs and bowls and bells. Support them. I think it's really important. It's so easy to go, oh yeah, this stuff is great and I love it, and then never go to anybody's session. Just hang out on Facebook or Instagram or something and watch their videos. Well, that's one thing, but go to their live sessions, experience things for yourself, go to different people's sessions, find out how everybody does something different. And especially if you do this, go to somebody else's session and find out what they're doing, how they do it, see how the people respond. I think it's part of the never-ending growth and learning we have to do. But go support other people and help us all improve and be better. So that's about it for now. We'll talk to you next time on It's Cuppa Time.